from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask an Engineer. It's me, LadyAda, with me, Mr. LadyAda. I'm camera control. We're here at the Adafruit factory in downtown Manhattan, do all the kitting and testing and manufacturing, shipping and videoing and photoing and everything that we do to make the electronics, the open source hardware electronics that you know and love. More about that soon because we've got some new products. We got a jam-packed show for you with INPIs, top secrets, videos, Python newsletters, and more. We're here for the next hour. Mr. LadyAda, why don't you tell them what's on tonight's show and give them the code?
On tonight's show, the code is NeoPixel BFF. It'll be pretty obvious why, but you can use the code now, 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Get 10% off in the Adafruit store. Use it or lose it. We have the Adafruit Live Series shows, including Show and Tell. We'll talk about some of the cool things that were showed and shared on the Show and Tell tonight. Time travel, we'll look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, and more. Got some news and cool stuff to talk about. From the Mailbag, we'll read some of your letters to us. We got some fun factory footage this week from inside of Adafruit. Some 3D printing, some videos from Noah and Pedro. We have INPI this week is from Nordic. We have some new products. We have some top secret. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord, where you can join all 35,000 of us. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, LadyAda, let's pay some bills. First up,
right.
Yeah, don't forget, code's NeoPixel BFF, and when they put stuff in their cart, they'll notice that there's free things. What do they get?
There are freebies. We're still doing them when you order from Adafruit.com, $99 or more. We still have the PermaProto half-size breadboard PCB, great for making your solderless breadboard project permanent. $149 or more. We still have pink circuit boards, PCBs, KB2040s, which somebody on the Show and Tell even said was an amazing board that they loved. It's an RP2040 microcontroller board with STEM QT. It's got 8 megabytes of flash. It's got castellated pads, USB-C, and it's pink. And it's not going to be pink forever. So if you want the pink one, pick it up or order $149 or more in the shop. Great for getting your CircuitPython projects or your keyboard projects going. $199 or more free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. And $299 or more, we've got the Circuit Playground Bluefruit. This is a all-in-one development board that has the NRF52840 Bluetooth microcontroller, Cortex M4. It's got capacitive touch and a buzzer and buttons and switches and sensors. And of course it can do BLE. We got Arduino and CircuitPython support for it, as well as a little bit of MakeCode support.
Okay, we have a bunch of live shows, and we just finished up Show and Tell. Next week, Liz will be the co-host, so check that out. This week on the Show and Tell, we had a bunch of projects. I try not to pick favorites. However, I did really like Dan W. and engineer that was with him, who did a CircuitPython based trombone champ project, but they used these little it's
like a Nerf gun, and
little toy things that they got.
Distance sensor. It's cool, and they did in CircuitPython.
Yeah, and then Mouse had a cool light up synth mod where they use the LED nudes that light up, but the sound can also go through it. And then BCG had a really cool keyboard. And if you're into keyboards, check out the Bizarro keyboard that we found, and Jeff is working on it. It's an Atari keyboard with one button in the middle that's also like tilted 30 degrees
and not centered.
It says help.
It's just the weirdest ass thing.
Yeah, and then JP showed the partnership that Microsoft did with the new Black Panther movie, and you can use MakeCode to make your own Wakanda game.
Yes.
So that was really neat.
He's going to add some hardware to it.
Yeah. On Sundays, we do Desk of LadyAda. We have it in two parts. Part one this week, what did you show off?
Okay. So I showed an update to the RP2040 tester, which I did some hardware bring up on, and it's kind of going. Again, I have to, this is the tester brains that does a lot of the programming of chips behind the scenes because we can't get Teensy 3.6s, which is what I usually love to use. I also showed up a couple of revisions. I revised the ADT 7410 temperature sensor that's going to get STEM QT-ized, and also one of the older designs we've ever done, the I2C SPI backpack. It's like product number 292. It's like from the first few years of Adafruit. It does have I2C support, and so why not revise it to add STEM QT? And then while I was doing that, I was like, well, let's improve the design because it's been like 10 plus years. So I've learned a couple tips and tricks since then to improve manufacturability and usability, not just systemic UT, but also make it work with 3-volt logic. So it's a little boost converter. And I wanted to improve the trim pot, the contrast trim pot on there, which is what we did for the Great Search.
That's right. Every week on the Great Search, LadyAda user powers of engineering and smarts to search digikey.com to find the things that you're looking for, and that's what you found.
Yes. So I used the TC33X trim pot, which is a very common Bourne's trim pot. It's great, but it's a little bit annoying if you don't have the exact right potentiometer, flathead screwdriver. It looks like you use a Phillips, but you actually use a flathead. It has to be exactly the right size, and it's a little bit like tough to tell. I also think like if you tweak them too hard, you could break them. So I found a really good, slightly larger but similarly SMT friendly trim pot that's got a little bit of a larger plastic body, and it's really clear what size and type of screwdriver you use to adjust it. So I swapped that out, and so when I get the prototypes, I'm going to test out this other trim pot. So I just showed off a couple options and what to look for in a trim pot at DigiKey.
All right, and then every Tuesday we do a JP's product pick. That's where we broadcast live from inside of product page. Here is this week's highlight.
The mini analog thumbstick and the breakout. They have a ground power and the analog per axis slot neatly into the board there, where the 2 sets of 3 there are. And then all of those are broken out to the plus, Y, X, and minus. I've taken a QT Py RP2040, and I'm essentially running power and ground and 2 analog pins to each joystick, 4 ADC pins, which we have on the QT Py, and then I've also run a little I2C OLED there. And you can see as I move these little thumbsticks, I get some values that I've written there, as well as a little moving dot. And I have this sending out MIDI. I'm not going to demo that part of it, but it's essentially sending out some MIDI CC values on 4 axes, 2 per. And so this is really straightforward to use in both Arduino and CircuitPython. The mini analog thumbstick and breakout.
And don't forget tomorrow, JP's workshop. Friday, deep dive with Tim. Let's check out some time travel. We will have some updates to our show times and more. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But you can always check our Discord, and we'll probably have a post that has some updated times and more. Time travel, a little bit of a reminder. So yesterday, Adafruit does a paid day off for voting.
All day.
All day. And some of our team does volunteer work. Some of our team is doing things each year. We wanted this to be contagious, as in like maybe we can convince other companies to do it. Some companies do a paid day off for voting. A lot of places you're required to have your employees, if they want time, to give them time. But that rarely works out, so we wanted to make it like a national holiday. That'd be kind of good. Looks like lots of young folks turned out and decided to go vote and more. This happens, every year. So if you work at a company, just check out our website if you want to see how we do it. It's worked out really well. It doesn't have an impact in productivity or anything like that. A lot of times when we're asked, are like, well, what if someone takes a whole day off? Great. What if they come to work and just go and vote and they save that as a float? Great. It's a really good thing to do, and other companies have done it. So thank you to everyone out there. And speaking of, on Friday, it's a holiday. It's Veterans Day, so Adafruit will be open, but there's some things that won't be going out, like some orders. We have a blog post on our website. We'll have a little announcement. This is from the US Gov did a poster contest, and this was one of the it's one of the winners. So and don't forget, we do free shipping to APOs.
Oh, we still have that. That's right. I remember I implemented that in ZenCart like 15 years ago.
Yeah. There's a funny joke in the chat. Some companies gave their employees the rest of the year off to vote because there's a lot of tech layoffs. It sucks, but that is true.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at it.
No, I'm not laughing either. It's just like 'tis the season for tech companies that overhired and more. Oof. But yeah,
I think they'll be able to get jobs.
That's happening.
There's jobs available.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Low unemployment right now.
Oof.
Okay.
So now I have, I'll just mention Adabox for the folks who didn't hear the announcement last week or get an email if they're a subscriber. Thousands of you did, but I'm going to do it anyways. That's right. Adabox is returning in 2023. We sent out emails. If you didn't get it, probably went to spam or who knows. We sent out thousands of emails, and we don't send out emails to people. So this was just a one-time thing, and we said basically is exactly what's on the blog post. You can go to our website right now. You can go to adabox.com. All this information's there. We will be shipping the first quarter of 2023. We've been able to get enough parts to resume Adabox. Finally, it's been a full year of waiting, watching, and redesigning. So
I've done so many redesigns, I can't take it anymore.
yeah. So that's what we're up to, and we're excited because we thought that maybe folks would unsubscribe. Turns out no. So if you do want to unsubscribe, you can. Just words of warning. There's so many people signed up, so if you leave, they'll immediately get a notification that they can sign up. So you might have to wait until people drop or we add more. Looks like we'll be able to add more, but it's all just been parts related, and we'll be able to probably get everything we need. Looks like we are. That's why we were we didn't want to do one and then, oh, sorry, we can only do one this year. We wanted to make sure when we could do Adabox, we could do it again. It looks like we'll be able to do all four right away. Next up, no. What? You got
Sorry,
something?
no, I'm just hiccuping.
Letters. We get letters. We get tweets and we get emails.
Okay, this week
we get letters.
Adafruit team, I've had a lot of ESP8266 stuff connected to Adafruit.io for a while, and I recently tried out Whippersnapper with your Cutie Pie ESP32 and HT20. Wow, that was scary easy to get up and running. Congratulations to the team who developed the whole ecosystem. This is an easy win for home data logging for the future for me.
Yay.
Scary easy is our tagline.
Well, it was Halloween.
Scary easy.
8266 actually does also work with Whippersnapper. However, it's not recommended because I just do want to. It's a good time to PSA. SSL certificates, you can't get 5-year certificates anymore. They're just like not available. Instead, people are using We Encrypt, where you get a new certificate, every 90 days or a year and everything. And so you would have to upload new code every year to the ESP8266 to reset the certificate. Whereas with the ESP32 series, you can do certificate chain verification. So I do recommend if you have 8266s connected to Adafruit.io, it's a great time to update those to ESP32s. You're going to be a lot happier. It's only like a couple dollars more.
Okay. Python on hardware time. Okay, this week in the Python on Hardware newsletter. And by the way, if you haven't, please subscribe. Adafruit Daily, completely separate website. We don't spam. We don't do anything.
There's no ads.
Yes, we don't. There's no ads.
It's just really good content.
We don't sell you anything. The theme is Python on hardware, and one of the things that we like to use this for is for our own use, which is what are the trends, where are things going, what's happening. And one of the things that we were noticing is conferences are coming back, and people are now able to safely go to events, share code, share projects, do things, and there's conference badges. So there was a couple events. Hackaday SuperCon was last week, and
but there's other conferences coming back.
yeah,
EuroPython
is the videos just got posted, and if you look at what's in the newsletter, we're starting to see more and more badges. Now it's probably because they're easier to do. You can make a badge and it can have an e-ink display, and there's code that works on it now. MicroPython, CircuitPython, all the Python flavors are out, and that just means you might be able to program it on site. You don't have to download software. It could just show up like a USB drive. So this week, I wanted to show you a cool badge that we saw. This is from Pi Moroni, and this is for GitHub Universe, which is going on right now. And this is neat because I'm going to zoom in on the badge here if I can. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop.
Okay.
I like this design because
it's a little cutout.
it has the cutout of Mona, the Octocat.
Yes.
And then it has the person's name, and there's
E-ink.
and then there's also a QR code. So I was going to ask you, LadyAda, because we get asked this all the time, and now I would like to just send a link. If someone's thinking of doing a conference badge, what are the, right now, in the current state of chip shortages, software that's available, should they do it in Arduino? Should they do it in CircuitPython? Should they do MicroPython? What would you suggest to someone?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, I think this badge particularly runs MicroPython, but I think CircuitPython is also an excellent use for badges. And there, before the pandemic stopped, there were a couple of very cool CircuitPython based badges that were for DEF CON and for PyCon and stuff. And the reason is that having taught and you do workshops or attended a lot of conferences. Most people don't have they're not going to be able to install IDEs. The internet is going to be really weird. Everyone's got their own little computer. If you want to have an electronic badge that is customizable, having it so that you can just plug into a USB cable and then the files are easily editable. You don't have to install any special software. It works on Chromebooks. You can
Phones,
you can
iPads,
you can even
iOS.
use it phones on iPads if you have the adapter cable. I think is really powerful. And e-ink here, I think it doesn't even have a battery on
If
the
someone
back.
has to do 1,000 badges right now, what chip would you suggest they look at? Because that's the thing that really burnt a lot of folks
Yeah.
is they were about to do a conference and they couldn't get the parts, or they committed to something and then the price changed or
Yeah.
availability changed. What processor would you pick right now?
Well, the RP2040, which I think is what this badge is running, is very easy to get. It's very available. It's low cost. You can also use the Pico or the Pico W and just solder it onto the back, so it's a little bit easier to manufacture. Maybe if you don't want to solder in the very small 0.4 millimeter
just put
pitch.
headers in and pop it in.
Or you can have it surface mount on, and then because that's castellated pads. I also really strongly recommend the ESP32 S2. Or the S3, but the S2 is a little cheaper. Actually, the S2 is cheaper than the original ESP32, and you don't have to have an external USB serial converter. So it's actually a really good deal. And the ESP32 S2 is available in modules that are FCC certified. They're really easy to pick and place on. You can even hand solder them. They're available through quick turn PCB assembly houses. So I would say ESP32 S2, I personally think Wi-Fi is really great. It's fun if you can have some internet connectivity on the badge. And CircuitPython has great support for the ESP32 S2. If not the S2, then the S3. That's secondary because it also has native USB and it also has Bluetooth, but it's a little bit. It's not as stable because it's a little newer than the ESP32 S2. And then those have native USB. We of course support ESP32 without native USB, but if you want to use that too, and then you can try out the Wi-Fi workflow. But I think with USB, it's just easier to do the deployment. It's you can type in the SSID, over USB. And then the RP2040, if you don't need Wi-Fi connectivity and you want, a chip that's easily available.
Okay, now tough question, and this isn't a dunk or anything. What chips would you avoid if someone has an event coming up in the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, you're definitely. I think you might be able to get some low-cost STM32s, but I think it's a little risky.
Okay.
And there's definitely no SAMDs. You can't get the SAMDs really at all.
Okay.
So you're not going to be able to do those. I think STM32s might be okay, but I have to look because it depends on what flavor. But none of the ones that are CircuitPython friendly, like the STM32 F4 series, which is what we run CircuitPython and best on, those are either very expensive or they're very unavailable. So I think to be honest, the ESPs.
Okay. And displays, have you seen that they've been available? If someone says, well, which display should I have on it? Is e-ink okay?
E-ink's good. I've actually, the only thing about e-inks is I'll warn you is it's just this has always been true about e-inks. They're constantly changing the chipsets. It's very, the vendors that I'm using to get e-ink displays, it's like every 6 months they're this chip is discontinued, as a new chip. So you're going to have to kind of be very flexible with the display chipset. They're all very similar, but the commands do vary. We have 17 drivers for e-ink displays. TFTs, the prices have come down quite a bit, so I recommend TFT displays.
Okay.
Those are very good.
Any displays to avoid?
One thing that I do warn people on is NeoPixels are very, very fun, but they are very tough to pick and place because if one LED is bad, you kind of have to throw the whole thing away, and they crack very easily if you don't have perfect humidity. We've definitely had that. So even though it's fun to have an LED matrix display, I'd actually not recommend it. on a badge. I mean, if you're going to do that, I would use the 2020 sized LEDs, the ones that are not like 50/50 or 35/35, because those don't crack. They don't have the lensing, the epoxy lens. They're just like fully epoxy. Those are more likely to survive reworking, although of course they're smaller. But I don't. The one thing I'll just say, like NeoPixels, they love to crack off. They love to break, and if one breaks, all the ones downstream break. So, e-ink displays, TFT displays. People love OLEDs, like the you can even get OLEDs with the headers already soldered in, and I see that all the time. People they put 4 holes and you solder in the OLED. And OLED drivers are of course a dime a dozen. They're very, very popular.
Okay, so this was our like public service that we wanted to do because it's conference season again. Folks are asking us to make custom badges. We really don't want to do custom badges. There are companies that do that, but there's also a lot of questions, and I think I can just point to this video and be like, well, here's stuff to consider, because it's usually what's available, what display should I use, pricing, like how do I coordinate all this stuff. It's the first time I've ever done this, and there's all the complexity of a event, and then you now release a product at the same time. So hopefully this will help someone. And that is this week's Python.
One thing I will say,
it's not
sorry,
this week's.
I'm not done yet. One more thing. Another great reason to use CircuitPython is we have full font support for every kind of font and the QR code generator. So if you do want to have people have custom fonts for their
custom
displays,
fonts, images,
we spend a lot of time on getting
and
custom
QR code,
and Unicode support. So foreign character sets work. So if you have, we showed a badge demo where if you have your name is in Japanese or your name is in Urdu, that'll display
and
just fine.
If you're looking just to have something that works, you can also just use the clue as is, and there's a project that we have that just turns it into a badge.
Yeah, we just posted it.
Okay.
Now I'm done.
That's Python hardware. Okay, we're an open source hardware company. We have 2,765 guides. LadyAda, what's on the big board this week?
We had a lot of guides this week, actually. So we got an updated guide, and updated this guide by Jen Goolsby for a AMG 8833 thermal camera that uses CircuitPython. It was based on CircuitPython 5, and a couple things got deprecated. Some folks asked us to please update the code, and did it, and the thermal camera is now better than ever. We also had an update to the SI5351 clock generator breakout. Y'all remember last week we showed off the new, or maybe it was the week before, the new product is a QT-ified SI5351. So now we have 2 versions, one that's STEMMA QT plug and play, one that has 3 SMA ports, but is not STEMMA QT. The guide has been updated thanks to Liz to have photos and pinouts for both. Okay, so the new guides. Noah and Pedro did an awesome no-code IoT pool monitor using Whippersnapper and DS18B20. So folks who know the DS18B20, it's there's no plug-and-play no-code IoT system that supports the DS18B120, not one that's simple. We've been adding, everyone that supports digital in, digital out, analog in. And maybe a couple NeoPixels, but we now support stuff, we have I2C support for many sensors. And we're also starting to add, unusual stuff like the DS18B20, which is, of course, really great for remote temperature monitoring. So you check it out. They have a guide. So, this pool monitor, because the DS18B120 comes in a waterproof sensor, they can dunk it in the pool and they can see what temperature the pool is, so they can monitor it, see how long it takes. Make sure everything's working with the heater, make sure it's being efficient, turning off at night when they're not using it, so it can be energy efficient. It is all with Whippersnapper, so there's no coding at all. It's just completely plug and play, automatically detected by the IoT system.
Okay, and then we have the cow server, and then
the other. So I was like, we're done. Eva did a guide. This is a project that we saw a couple years ago. It's like a website, or maybe it was an ink display that would use quotes from literature to display the time, because there's famous quotes about it's 10 to midnight or whatever, and so there's someone who collated all of the quotes for different times, and then Eva did a really good job with the mag tag e-ink display to every few minutes update the time to display it. And show it in bold. So there's a little bit of actually kind of funky. I was talking about that font work, which is what reminded me, because she had to show just that one section in bold text. And so there's actually two text chunks, one that's the plain, and then it goes into bold, and then it goes back into, maybe plain text afterwards. But you did a really good job with that, and so it's a fun project, one of the popular e-ink projects, but tough to do if you don't have really good font support like CircuitPython does. Liz, actually, sorry, I'll go to the Ouija guide. So JP, for next Halloween, this is a project he made for Halloween but didn't get to finish publishing beforehand.
You can use a Ouija board all year.
But you can use a Ouija board all year. This is another project where he basically went to the Halloween store, picked up a prop, and then showed, hey, let's add electronics to make it automatic. It plays audio clips, and it controls the whatever pointer thing. There's a name for it.
Spirit channeler.
Spirit channeler. I'm not doing good with words today, but that's okay. And I have it controlled with wirelessly over Bluetooth. So we haven't done any Bluefruit projects lately, but this is a good one. And then this project is really great. Liz made the 3D printed cow was not necessary, but she made
it was necessary.
a Pico W, a PyCow, HTTP server with CircuitPython. So this is we've been adding Wi-Fi support for the Pico W to CircuitPython, and we did a requests project. We've done Adafruit IO projects. This one, where the Pico W itself is a web server, so you can connect to it. It can show the IP address on OLED to make it easy to connect to, and then when you connect to that IP address on a web browser, you can control stuff or read a temperature sensor. So it's a little micro server that might be useful for people. They want to have a little private data reading and reporting service. This is a HTTP server that does it. Note that we do actually have SSL HTTP server support, but it's incredibly slow. So if you do want to have TLS support, you can do it. It just takes a long time to connect and get data.
Okay, and we have a video of the cow. I'm going to show that. We'll play a couple seconds of JP's video, and then we'll do the cow video.
Yeah, okay.
I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I have missed you so much.
You can build an HTTP server using a Pico W running CircuitPython. The web page is coded in HTML, which is included as an F string in the CircuitPython code. The Pico W is connected to a Pi cowbell breakout board. It has a prototyping area and STEMMA QT port. A DS18B20 temperature sensor is soldered to the prototyping area, and an OLED screen is plugged into the STEMMA port. The OLED shows your SSID, static IP address, and the temperature reading from the DS18B20. The temperature data is also logged to the HTML web page. The HTML page also sends data to the Pico W with HTTP post requests. These requests are sent when you click the buttons. You can turn the onboard LED on and off, or change the OLED to show the less useful but more entertaining party paired animation. Since the Pico W is often affectionately referred to as the Pi Cow, a bovine-themed 3D printed case is available for the project. To see how you can build your own HTTP server, check out the Learn guide at learn.adafruit.com.
And here's some advanced manufacturing made here in New York City. And it's 3D printing time. All right, we're gonna play these videos back to back this week from Noe and Pedro. This is the IoT pool monitoring project using Whippersnapper, no code, and then we got cool speed up.
A tree.
You can build a DIY pool monitor with electronics from Adafruit and Whippersnapper, Adafruit's no-code solution to IoT projects. This uses the DS18B20 waterproof digital temperature sensor that's great for measuring wet conditions. The Adafruit ESP32S2 features an onboard LiPo monitor and STEMMA QT that makes it perfect for portable IoT projects. Everything is housed in a waterproof case with a nice long cable for the temperature sensor to be submerged in a body of water. With Adafruit I/O, you can easily build a dashboard to visualize the temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit and the battery percentage. Using Whippersnapper, you can quickly set up your Feather ESP with the built-in components as well as any supported sensors. You can control how often to log data and see a line graph to better visualize how your data is changing over time. You can get the parts to build this project, links are in the description. This 3D printed mount houses the Adafruit Feather and it's designed to be secured in the waterproof case. A 4.7K resistor is included with the temperature sensor and it's required as a pull-up from the data pin to the VCC line. The wires from the cable are color-coded and soldered to the pins on the bottom of the Feather PCB. Use a 1/4-inch drill bit to make a hole in the enclosure for the temperature sensor to pass through. Be sure to check out the guide for a full step-by-step tutorial on building this project. The Feather snap fits onto the 3D printed mount. The DS18B20 sensor is inserted through the drilled hole and the 3D printed mount is secured with screws. This 4400 mAh LiPo battery fits nicely in the enclosure and plugs directly into the Feather's battery port. These thumb screws are included with the waterproof case and the top cover is transparent so you can keep track of everything inside. Hot glue is great for insulating the drill hole and helps keep out any moisture from getting into the case. We've been using this project to keep track of how long it takes for our pool to reach a desired temperature. It was easy to put together and we think it's a great IoT project that can be adapted for lots of other use cases. We hope this inspires you to try out Adafruit I/O, Whippersnapper, and the Feather ESP32 for your next IoT project.
And don't forget, you can learn how to make all this stuff and more on 3D Hangouts with Noe and Pedro every single Wednesday. Okay, before we go to Ion MPI, reminder is the code is NeoPixelBFF. Use it in the store, get 10% off, get free stuff, all those good things. LadyAda, let's kick off Ion MPI.
On MPI.
All right, this week's Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit is Nordic. LadyAda, what is this week's Ion MPI?
I love Nordic Semiconductor. I love their chips, and so it's always great to be able to highlight their stuff. They don't have a lot of product releases, but when they do release is, of course, really excellent quality.
Yeah.
This one, honestly, it's not really new.
It's everywhere once it,
but it's available.
Yeah.
And that's also another important thing. I also like to do Ion MPIs where you can get the thing. So this week's Ion MPI is the NRF 9160. Comes in 3 versions. This is their cellular module. So, they're famous for, they started with, go to the next page. You can read it while I chitter chatter. They started with, the NRF 2401, famous 2.4 gigahertz meshable network chips, wireless chips that were so easy to use. And then they did the NRF 8001 Bluetooth low energy, and then they did the NRF 51, which had the integrated microcontroller. And that's where I think things started to really not turn around, but I think become very interesting, because instead of just being a peripheral wireless module, the microcontroller is embedded inside of it. And so, the NRF51 started this idea of having a soft device where you have the microcontroller and the radio bonded together in a module or in a chip. And, you don't have to have a separate microcontroller, and it's designed for low power, and it's designed for being very inexpensive and very small because you don't have two things communicating. So that same idea, the NRF51, 52, and NRF53 series now, they took that same idea of let's not have a separate radio, let's have the radio and microcontroller together, and they did the NRF 9160. So this is a LTM or NB-IoT, so true cellular networks with 5G, and GNSS, so GPS, or GLONASS or Beidou or whatever satellite systems they support, all integrated together with, as you can see on the right, a 64 megahertz Cortex ARM Cortex M33, so it's a nice fast processor, 1 megabytes of flash, 256K of RAM, plus trust zones. So this means you can run, your Zephyr, RTOS, or what have you on the board and do cellular, and it's all very, very thin and very, very compact. So as mentioned, they've also, by the way, added Wi-Fi, and hopefully that Wi-Fi chipset will make it into DigiKey's featured product soon when it's released. When there's hardware release, we'll talk about it. But basically, it's like the strength that they brought to Bluetooth Low Energy and the usability. I think is very interesting that they're like, we're going to now bring this to cellular as well. Okay, so inside is. It is a SIP. It's a system in package. It's not a chip, but it's like it's a very thin module that's chip-like. But inside you've got that standard Cortex M33 ARM chip, and then you've also got the modem. And the modem is what connects to the LTE GPS network. You of course need an external SIM. But what's nice is everything's integrated together, including even the temperature compensated crystal and the PMIC, which means that you don't need a lot of external components, and you get all the stuff with that Cortex M33 that you would expect. Analog digital inputs, I2S support, PDM support, PWM, like 20 plus GPIO. So, if you don't have to have two separate chips if you want to get some sensor data in, process it, and then send it over cellular or receive cellular commands, control some motors. You can do that all in one. So the modem is communicated to with AT commands, although, it's nice that you don't have to port the AT command parser on your own. It's, they give you software support for it. But, like any cellular module, you do communicate it with AT command sets to tell it what to do. And, I didn't go through the entire AT command set, but it's got all the things that you expect: connecting, disconnecting. There's a socket data interface that's separate than the command interface, which is kind of nice. It's only for data, NB-IoT and LTM, so it's not for making phone calls. It's for sending machine-to-machine data back and forth, MQTT or HTTP or HTTPS data. But it is a data system for cellular. That said, a lot of things nowadays, we were talking about every scooter has a GPS plus cellular module in it, so it works anywhere in the world. You get the eSIM or the SIM attached to it. You've got global or at least nationwide coverage without having to worry about Wi-Fi connectivity. The powerful thing that Nordic provides, because you're like, well, wait a minute, I can get cellular modules anywhere. We've covered cellular modules on INMPI, and there are a lot of makers. But what I think is really powerful is Nordic always has really, really good SDKs and really, really good support. So, people tend to use, when they use the NRF52, they do like to use the Adafruit stack for it, for Arduino. But that said, the NRF Connect SDK has a lot of great examples, and they have the Info Center will show you, and they also have a really good support forum where you can talk to engineers, and you can talk to them in private. You can have on public area if you need to get help with your design in or your firmware, and they're very responsive. And then it's just that kind of stuff. It's like they have a whole system for how they do their SDK support and updates, and they really keep it up to date. It's first class. Believe me, I've used other billion-dollar company SDKs, and they've been very painful. We've always really, really liked the Nordic SDK. The Info Center is also really good. I've not used it for the NRF 91, but I did use it a ton with the NRF 52. And they have a lot of questions. They have errata. And again, use this with their forums and their engineer support to get your project going. And you know, you pay a little bit more maybe for really good quality products, but the support makes it worth it. I've never heard anyone say anything other than how good the Nordic SDK support is. And there's no videos, of course, so check that out. And we'll show a fun video at the end of this chat. So there's 3 variants for it. There's the Sika, which is what we're highlighting. And that's the version that has LTE-M, NB-IoT, and GNSS. It's going to be the more expensive of them. I think it's like $20-ish, $24. But if you're willing to go to the, you know, LTE-M or NB-IoT only versions and you don't need GPS support, you can save a couple bucks. These are very inexpensive. I mean, it's basically the cost of what you would normally spend with, you know, a module, but you really get everything built in with it. And again, very few other external components are required. The modules also, what I thought was neat is they all have, you know, 700 megahertz to something 3 gigahertz, 2 point something gigahertz bandwidth, which means that there is no, you know, one thing I've noticed with cellular modules is there's like the North America version and the Europe version, and this is like Africa, and this is South America and Australia, and like it's very zoned based on the frequency. But because these are all wideband, you can use any of them in any zone that has the frequency support. And they have certifications, like various certifications, regulatory certifications like PTCRB, FCC, CE, etc. So you can kind of get kickstarted with your design. So check out, you know, they have a certifications page where you can like look at it, make sure, of course, that the country that you're using it in, it's pre-certified for the band you want to use. But of course, you can use any band. So just be aware of what it is, so that when you go for your final product certification, you can kind of skip a couple steps because you'll be like, it's pre-certified. There are some great dev kits for this. This is the massive NRF 9160 dev kit. DK stands for dev kit and DigiKey. This one has, you know, the Arduino compatible headers. It's got everything in it, right? It's got like the built-in antennas. It's got battery monitoring. It's got looks like the FT2232H, JTAG, whatever, SIM slot. It's massive, but it's got like everything. So it's good if you're like, I need to have a dev kit for my original product design, and I need to have everything exposed. So great for like hardware hacking, and of course, and then it comes with the Sika. So then if you decide later you don't need NB-IoT, you can then, the 3 versions are pin compatible, so you just use the version that has only LTE-M. My favorite dev kit, just because of the name, is the Thingy 91. You can tell that there's just marketing was like, okay, we're going to call it the Thingy. And it's also an NRF 9160. You can see there's a SIM card holder. I think it also has an NRF 52840 on there as a coprocessor. It's got sensors and stuff built in, but it's compact, battery powered. It's like designed for, like, you want to design a low power user experience that maybe if your hardware has overlap with the built-in hardware on the Thingy, again, you can, you know, prototype with it, but it's much smaller, and it comes in like a little rubber case with a hole so you can attach to something. So the video, the pizza project, you use a Thingy because it has the accelerometer, you know, humidity, temperature sensor, and the cellular all built in. And then, of course, if you like feathers, there's also an Nordic NRF 9160 Sika feather, right? So this is lets you use you can see how few components you need to get this running. I mean, you basically just attach an antenna to the outside for GPS and cellular, and then you know, maybe have a couple components on the beginning for battery charging and LDO, but you're pretty much ready to go out of the box. This is from Ictinus, and it's available from us or from DigiKey. You can get the feather.
Speaking of, this is something you actually get.
Thingy.
It's on DigiKey.
That's right. They have a lot in stock. 25,000 last I checked.
Yeah.
They also have this SICK. This is a Sika, but there's also the SICK BA and the SICK AA. But they have all 3 versions, which I thought was amazing. They don't have the dev kits in right now, but I think they're going to get some more soon. If you want to get a cellular module, this is one of the few cellular modules, especially one with a microcontroller, that's inexpensive and available.
And we have a cool video that Nordic put together. We're going to play just a little bit of it.
Have you heard about this new startup, the NRF Pizza Delivery guys?
No. What are they doing?
Cellular IoT pizza delivery. They're running prototype rounds now with the Nordic Thingy 91.
Oh, that's cool. But what are they doing differently from other pizza delivery services?
So they're taking pizza delivery to a whole new level. Every pizza box has a Nordic Thingy 91 inside, and this has sensors on it capable of measuring temperature, pressure, and acceleration, and much more. And this is transferred over to the Nordic NRF9160 SIP, which also has GPS. Then all of this data is transferred up to the NRF Connect for Cloud using the new low-power cellular technologies, LTM and NB-IoT.
That sounds cool, but what are they actually using the sensor data for?
Oh, they also have this app called NRF Pizza. And after you've ordered your pizza, you can see exactly where it is on the map and when it will arrive. It will also show you the temperature of the pizza and if it has been flipped or not. The app extracts all this data through the NRF Connect for Cloud device API so that the app can get access to the GPS and sensor data directly.
Nice.
Yeah, and the best part is if the temperature gets too low or the pizza is flipped, you get it for free.
Oh, sweet. That sounds like something that will really disrupt the pizza delivery market.
My pizza's here. Gotta go.
Yeah, see you.
Hard on NPI.
Okay, before we get to new products, let's do the code. It's NeoPixel BFF. Don't forget to use it on checkout. LadyAda, let's do some new products.
It's time. New, 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 new. No, 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 no.
All right, here is a
New. This is a revised, but it's very significantly revised. So TFT prices finally came back down to earth after many chip and TFT shortages, and so we've actually updated our TFT supplier. And while we were doing that, I was like, well, if I'm going to update the TFTs, why not update the designs as well? And so if you look on the back of this 2.2-inch TFT breakout, it now has an iSpy connector. Also has the lovely new Penguin font that I've been showing off on Desk of LadyAda, where the font is rendered nicely using this Python script that Paint Your Dragon wrote. But we now have an iSpy connector. It's otherwise the same shape, same pinout. Everything else is in the same location. But I want to show on the overhead, actually. We can just skip ahead.
yeah.
Show some
You got
images
it
of it.
going on?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got it going on. So on the overhead, the iSpy connector is sort of like, people are like, oh, can you have the STEMMA QT that people really love, right? You plug in I2C sensors with a cable, and it's just plug and play. Could you do that for displays? So this cable, you can't just use 2 or 3 pins. You actually need 12 pins to do SPI, especially if you want the SD card and if there's a touch screen. So this is a 18-pin cable. And it's a flex cable, and there's a connector on here, and it's pretty easy to remove. It's a flip top connector, so I really like that style because they're a lot less likely to break. You slot the connector in, which of course is hard to do on the overhead. So hold on. And you can control all these GPIO, the power reset, SD card, backlight, whatever. Comes through here, and then, for example, we have this little breakout board that labels all of the GPIO for you for easy wiring, and then this cable can be significantly longer than breadboard wires, but also makes it a lot easier to connect and disconnect and test. So here I'm just running the standard graphics test, but what's nice is it's no longer tied to the breadboard. I can disconnect
you won't
it.
accidentally hit one wire and then spend a bunch of time trying to figure out which wire.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a feather and a STEMMA QT breakout for this connector that plugs in directly. But I do like showing it on a breadboard to say hey, what's nice is everything's labeled. And I'm using the 100mm cable, but of course these cables come in significant lengths of availability.
Okay, next up.
Okay, next up, we have 2 more sizes of the SPI flash. We again have the QSPI flash version that is just 8 pins of all the QSPI connectors. But if you're using something with 5-volt logic, like an Arduino Uno, or for some reason you just want to have it, maybe data protected, there's a level shifter on there and an LDO. Also good if you are, there's some chips that SPI flash chips that used to come with 5-volt compatibility. If you need to wire this up to something that needs that 5-volt compatibility. This is a WinBond 25Q64 series, which is again one of the most popular SPI flash chips available. And we just wire it up for SPI usage. So the hold and WP, the extra 2 pins are not used, they're set high. And you just get the SPI pins with chip select. For Arduino, we have a SPI flash library that you can use. You can format it as FAT or little FS or use it as a flat file. So this is 64 kilobits, which is 8 kilobytes. And this is the 128, there's two. The 128 kilobits, which is 16 kilobytes. They're labeled in kilobits, not kilobytes. You can see it matches the printing on the chip. That's why we say that. So, 16 kilobytes, that's not so bad. You can use it with a variety of microcontrollers to store, audio clips or files, and then reference them later. If you're using a lot of storage, I always recommend an SD card. But these are mechanically stabler, and of course they're less expensive, and a lot simpler for some basic uses. They're still flash. You have to erase them before you write to the pages. But again, our library takes care of that for you.
All right, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, LadyAda, our staff, our team, all of the folks who work with Adafruit, the community, our customers, is the
NeoPixel Driver BFF. So it's actually, I designed this after Erin did that project with she was doing the jellyfishes, and she's like, well, I wanted to have a cutie pie and connect a NeoPixel, and I was like, there should be a little board that kind of does all the tough work of that for you. So looking on the back here, in the middle is that little chip in the middle is a 74HCT125 1G, a single gate level shifter that will take the 3-volt logic level and shift it up to 5 volts, which I thought was a nice little add-on, and it uses the USB 5 volts to do that. It's by default using pin A3, and there's jumpers you can cut and solder the jumpers, so you can use like MOSI or RX or TX. So there's no dedicated NeoPixel pin. Instructions are on the back. You solder it back to back. You can use sockets, or of course you can solder it directly if you like. I perhaps like sockets. And then the connector that's on most NeoPixels is not, it's a JST SH, does not come in a surface mount version. So we put in a JST PH connector, and I'll show it, and then I'll show you how you would connect to a NeoPixel strip that's not. So hold on, let me find here's my demo. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let's go to the overhead. So here I've got an RP2040 Cutie Pie, which is a great NeoPixel driver. It has PIO support. And then you can see on the back here, we've soldered a little socketed version so I can remove it, but you don't have to. You can solder it directly if you want. And for short strips, you can power it directly from the this cable. Like this is we stock these NeoPixel strips that have the JST PH on them. You get 5 volts from USB, ground from USB, and that level shifted data. So here's the NeoPixel demo. A lot of NeoPixel strips, they either come with raw wires or they come with JST SH. And again, there's no adapter. There's no surface mount version of that connector. However, you can use JST to socket cables, and then you just plug these in to the wires. You just plug the wires in, and they're color coded. So red is power, green is black is ground, and white is signal. We also have a version with plug male headers. So those you plug it in, and then now you have a removable plug version. If you're powering a ton of NeoPixels, like more than 30, honestly, I wouldn't power it from the USB port. I would have a separate 5-volt power supply, in which case you would just connect the ground and signal, and then you could cut the red wire off or just tie it around here and ignore it. And then you would power the strip separately, but have the signal and ground still come from this board. and we have Wi-Fi versions of the Qt Py, so if you want to make a WLED project, this would be a great plug-and-play way to do that. It also works with the Xiao boards from Seed, so you want to use their Bluetooth board, make a Bluetooth NeoPixel project. It's just, it's a very inexpensive little add-on, but it should just make NeoPixel projects a lot easier.
Okay, and that is new products. Okay, you can go ahead and start posting up some questions. I have some loaded up, but we're going to do a little bit of top secret. If you want to put your questions up in Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. We'll get to the questions in a bit. LadyAda has a couple of things we're going to show in top secret.
Top secret, which I have to find. I'm always constantly looking for the USB cable. This is like my life. Hold on. Where is it? I just had it. Here it is.
Okay.
Every cable is black. Okay.
That's right. That's our thing. Okay. Right. So what is not out yet? Don't ask.
So you know how I can't get SAMD51s? Have I mentioned that before? Can't get SAMD51s. But I would like the Matrix Portal. So I thought, at the time when we designed the Matrix Portal board, there wasn't a USB native ESP32 board, and we didn't have the Wi-Fi workflow. But now there is. This is an ESP32S2, and it's got the level shifters. And it's got the same exact layout. So you've got 2 buttons, STEMMA QT port, 1 analog output, and it does the plug-in thing. And this is the power. You can connect power here, but I just connected power to the. I have a separate power plug, but you could power it through USB, and it's running Protomatter, and we have CircuitPython support for the S2 as well. I do want to revise this. I was, just after I finished it, I was like, I should really have used the S3, not the S2, because you get the secondary core and then BLE support. So I'm going to redo that. But otherwise, it's kind of nice to, there's just no SAMD51, so I don't have to worry about getting that chip for the next 2 years. So coming soon. So that's one thing.
Anything else you want to show?
Yeah, and then people really liked our TFT ESP32 boards, and so I thought that those versions have the TFT on the top, so you plug them in, and then there's this module on the bottom, the TFT on the top. But I thought we could do the other way around as well. This could be like kind of panel mount friendly. So the only thing is that I think this one's not programmed. One second, one of these is programmed, maybe or not. Yeah, well, it just has the bootloader on it. There you go. But you've got the TFT. It's got 3 I/O buttons here, so you can do like very simple little user interface things. A reset button, NeoPixel, STEMMA QT. Battery monitor have changed to the Max 17048 because I can't get the LC709 anymore. And then this one has an S2 and this one has an S3 because there's still reasons to use one or the other, but luckily the modules are like pin compatible. So this will be, it's just kind of nice because it's like maybe you want a very clean look, with a little user interface, TFT, and then you can plug feather wings onto the back and they're not in the way of the display or the user interface. So maybe like you put a LoRa featherwing on the back of this and now it's like, okay, you got a little Wi-Fi LoRa gateway with the TFT that you can panel mount very easily. It's got 4 mounting holes.
Okay. Them's the top secrets.
That's the top secrets.
Okay, we're going to jump right to questions, and then we have a fun announcement we'll do at the very end. Here we go. I have the questions loaded up, LadyAda. We can get through these.
Let's go through them. Okay.
First one, it's a good question. We get asked a lot. What do you recommend for small batches of PCBs to get assembled? There's lots of bits to the question.
Yeah.
But basically, you've seen this question before. Someone wants to get something assembled. Any recommendations of where? Because they're not going to do it on their own.
That's right. And, traditionally I'd been like, yeah, it is quite expensive. You'd have to go to a contract manufacturer. And you should. There's ones in the U.S. like Cyber City Circuits that will do small batch manufacturing. I'm starting to actually see a lot of really good results out of Asian quick turn, what I call them quick turn contract manufacturers. It's semi-automated. You have to do a lot more work at the beginning to get everything set up. But companies like JLC, they do assembly. PCBWay.
JLC, PCB.
And then there's a couple, there's I think more than that, but those are the 2 that I see people use the most.
Yeah.
The quality is quite good and very reliable. It's just you have to, when you send it out, they do what you say, not what you want.
It's kind of like sending a file to a 3D printer.
Yeah.
It's a little different than...
It prints what you say to print, not what you want to print. So you just have to be... really conscious, because it's, especially if you have them put components on that are expensive, they have rendering, they have a renderer, and you want to make sure that the renderer has the components in the right location and the pads fit up correctly. But that said, you can get boards assembled for like $10 a piece.
Okay, do the NeoPixels on the 5x6 Ortho Snap Apart work at 3.3 volts?
They do. You're not supposed to, but they work fine.
Okay. Is there a name for the add-on board for the Cutie Pie? Because I think this is the second one for the Cutie Pie.
That's right. They're BFF.
NeoPixel BFF. That was
They're
good.
BFFs. They're buddies.
Okay. Next, is it possible to stack the Cutie Pie plus LiPo battery charger BFF plus NeoPixel driver BFF and have the NeoPixels plus Cutie Pie to powered via battery?
You can, but it's gonna be like an 1.5 inches thick. So just be aware of that. It's like I sort of designed, like, also the thing about the NeoPixel BFF is it's kind of designed to be we're like robots. That's kind of cool.
Weird.
But hopefully it's a stream. The quality says it's fine.
Yeah. That's odd.
Maybe we're just chunking. But it's designed to power through USB, and so I don't know. I actually don't think it would power the NeoPixels through the battery, because it's expecting to be powered through 5 volts. But so like you could make it work with some wiring or external powering of the NeoPixels. But honestly, they're really meant to be one at a time.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask the stream. So on our side, it's a little choppy right now. But
It's cool.
I don't know what's happening with y'all.
We're from space. Well, I don't see a lot of complaints, so I don't know.
Yeah, weird. I've never seen this happen before.
All right. Any other? It's a little twitchy on
It's a
Twitch.
little twitchy on Twitch.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just
It
all of a
is
sudden got
choppy. Weird.
Never seen this happen before.
But the audio, I think, is coming through fine.
Yeah, audio's fine, but it's choppy.
All right.
Wonder what it could be.
This is a time when we robot dance.
Yeah, why would it do this though? You want to do a robot dance?
Well, I mean, why not? Like, it looks cool.
Yeah. It's weird. I've never seen this do this before though. Well, there's nothing really
Do you
I
want to turn
can
it
do.
off and back on again?
Or restart the router. I wonder what it could be. Yeah, weird. Camera overheating. No, it's not that.
No.
Let's just see something. Let's see what happens with the overhead. See if that's.
Oh, the overhead's also
Everything
choppy.
is going.
Oh, weird. It could be the internet.
Yeah, I think there's some broadcast problems at the moment. Well,
Do you do any last questions? We're almost done anyways.
We're almost done. I am going to. Yeah, I'm going to stay right here, everybody. We'll be back in a second. We'll see if there's something we can do.
Oh, you want to put on the warning? Please stand by.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
but I'm gonna do
You're
something.
gonna kick it? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Okay.
All right, I think we fixed it.
You pressed the help button on the Atari XE keyboard. Good work.
All right. See what happened.
All right.
Okay, let's go back to the other questions. That might have been it. Thanks for sticking with us during that. That is okay. Here it is. You sell the OpenMV camera. Can I convince you to make a hat for that board that would allow you to connect an Adafruit board like the SP32 S2 Cutie Pie for some Wi-Fi connectivity notifications? Maybe to Adafruit IO or Whippersnapper. Could be a no-code project for person detection. Seems like it could be done with routing I2C lines, power, etc., but in an Adafruit way with some NeoPixels.
Well, I think that'd be cool. I think the OpenMV cam is really good, and I'm glad we stock it. I will say that I'm a little hesitant right now to design anything that works with that board because I know it's going through comp revision issues because we've gone back and forth between the 32H7 and F7 or whatever. Sorry, the camera module, and I think the chips also changed, and it's using, that Cortex M7 from STM, and those have been really challenging to get. So, I think I'm going to wait until those STMs are a little more available, and OpenMV is not, they're just dealing with that, and then we can talk about having add-ons and stuff, just because they might end up doing revision, and then it's like, oh, we made a board, it doesn't plug in anymore.
All right. In the chat and Discord, someone made a fantastic Adabot costume.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so
cute.
much. And I think those are the questions.
Okay.
All right. So some announcements for some upcoming programming notes. So LadyAda on Sundays will go on pause for a few weeks. Show and Tell will have some co-hosts for the next few weeks.
But people you love, Liz, Devin Pedro, JP.
That's right. That also means some of the other shows and segments like INMPI, which is on every single week, and all the shows
And
that you
Great
see
Search.
on Great Search, all the shows that you see LadyAda and I on, we're taking a bit of a break because we've been working on a project for about 9 months,
It's not out yet.
and it's ready to make its debut. So we're having a kid. This is a little photo thing that they gave us. Everybody's healthy. Lamore's healthy. Kiddo's healthy.
So I'm extremely big.
Yeah, and
I'm excited to not be big anymore.
you can't tell because we've been doing the show and it
Well,
generally
you can't
cuts
really
off.
see
Yeah, you can't really
how
tell.
big I am.
But this has been going on for a while.
I'm going to
So
rotate now.
JP will be doing Wednesday night. So in the same time period as Ask an Engineer.
You'll still be here, but we won't be here.
Yeah, we'll probably pop onto the show and tell and do things. We're going to have videos, but doing live videos will probably be hard for the next couple weeks because this kid looks hungry.
This kid is so hungry.
So we'll probably be dealing with that. But thank you, everyone, for being part of this news, this journey with us. I'm really looking forward to y'all being able to meet this person. I think we have a lot of fun and a lot of good that we can teach this kiddo and continue to do this thing called Adafruit with another team member soon.
Okay.
So that
Someone
is
asked the due
our-
date. It's next Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not doing the show next
it's
Wednesday.
like now. Yeah,
I have an appointment next Wednesday.
It's like now.
Next Thursday.
And Adafruit, we do hug reports instead of bug reports. And hug report to LadyAda, who's designed like 200 boards in the last few
I
months.
didn't design, I just revised them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
Anyways,
revisions.
It was really
Well, there's
impressive.
actually going to be a couple more parts right before I leave, but
There's-
Liz and Katney and JP and Jeff are going to
Yeah.
help with the guides, and so there'll be a couple things that will be released. It won't be
So-
completely nothing, but we'll see you in 2023. I'm going to take 6 to 8 weeks off.
Yeah, we'll see how our schedules work out and all that. But thank you, everyone, for being part of this adventure with us. Special thanks to all the Adafruit team. We have everything we need, and all the teams will be able to take care of everything.
I'm so
We'll be
big.
around, but of course, we're just going to make sure Kiddo is off to a good start. So with that,
So big.
don't forget, the code is NeoPixel BFF.
Big.
Yeah, NeoPixel BFF, and we will see everybody very soon. Not sure when. We'll probably pop onto a show and tell soon. This has been an Adafruit production.
We'll be back.
This is your moment of Zener.
So big. So big.